Hey friends, it's Dwight. Welcome back to my studio. I know it looks like a mess, but I think most artist studios are and should be. So I'm just mixing up my paints. I know maybe it's not that dramatic, but just to show you what I go through. This takes me about 30-40 minutes or so to get all of the right consistencies as I'm getting ready to pour. So here we go. Let's get started. Okay, friends, here we are back in the studio. Paints are all mixed up. There's my canvas. It's a 24 by 36. Start down here. This is Artist Loft Soft Body White, just a little bit of extra. And this is Brown Pearl. This is a little bit of Brown Pearl as well as Champagne and a little bit of the copper. This is Copper and Gold. And this is just straight copper. And of course, my Artist Loft Soft Body White. And then my Artist Loft Soft Body Black, which is my dump paint. And there's my colander. Okay, guys, let's get started here, and I'll walk you through it. Okay, guys, here we are. Let's get started. So I usually put my colander pretty much in the middle. It doesn't quite look like that in this video, but I start in the middle. I typically start with white just to give it some lightness under some of the semi-transparent paints. And again, adding white to some of these darker colors also sort of flushes out the darkness and creates a little bit more of a dimension. So I'm just stacking these one after the other, putting a little bit more white in there. I did want some definition with the white so that it's just not all of the copper. And a little bit of dark to round things off. So always double check my consistencies before I pour. Sometimes when paints sit for a while, they tend to thicken up just slightly. So I just add a little bit of water sometimes, but these paints were pretty good. So I slowly lift it up. I want to get as much paint out as I can. Sort of pretty fall colors. Now I pour slightly off center because I'm going to be going down to the lower left corner. And since I have a lot of real estate to cover, I want to make sure the black paint can cover the color paint, but not overrun it too much. And I bring it back slightly, just slightly towards the center so that the weight of the paint isn't always just at one side or the other. So I wish you could see what I'm doing on the other side there. But here we go. So when I have a lot of color like this that shows up once I put this down, I'm pretty confident that this is going to turn out to be a nice pour. It starts filling in, and you see a few dots almost in the middle of the black space. That also says to me that it's going to start filling in there as well. Now I use my heat gun, and what that does is it pops any bubbles that are in the paint and it allows some of the paint from underneath to come through. So it's like popping the bubbles on the black paint, basically. And remember, sometimes black paint is denser than other paints, and so it sinks. So there we go. The white came through, and as it moves through the time lapse, you can see sort of the shadowing effect of the darker copper up against the lighter coppers and gold. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, I'm back. Here we are with the initial wet walkthrough. So I'll tell you, when I left the room, I was a little bit frustrated because I was thinking, oi, you know, I washed it out again with a lot of the same color and not a lot of definition. What I wanted was a lot of definition, and I think I've gotten that here. And as you can see, you know, it's light around the negative space, and I have this nice dark ring of copper, another nice white ring, and then some of the other copper. Now around here in the bottom and sort of up there towards the top, it was rich expresso, which was a dazzling metallics paint. And so I wanted that on the outside, which I believe I got. And if you watch the video, I have to double check to see with the time lapse, but I was really afraid that my negative space was going to close up. Now, with that being said, I am going to go in and open this up a little bit more. Some of you may say, don't touch it. But, you know, some of the cells are kind of ragged. And let me move it over here. And I just think it's kind of just sort of too small. So I did pour some black paint, if you may have noticed, and dumped some of this off. What I am going to do, I am going to open it up a little bit, just through here and around through here. Now, the problem with that is that once I get going sometimes, I'm not quite sure when and how to stop. But anyway, I will be working on that once this is dry. So again, I'm really excited about this. So let me show you some of the close-up pearls cells. They have a lot of dimension, a lot of dynamic to it. As you can see, it almost looks like stepping stones. I think I called one of my more recent paintings the same kind of title because it just reminds me of like a brick or a terracotta stone patio. Yeah. So just a little bit darker down in there. So yeah, I am going to shape this up. This will be a challenge and I will document it on video and I will show you the final dried results. Okay guys, listen, I will see you in a day or two, which will probably be about 5 seconds from now, and we'll have this all done. Okay. Good morning guys, it's Dwight. I'm back in my studio. The previous segments I did last night, and here we are the next morning. It pretty much dried, I believe, as we left it. And I wanted to make a point that when I do these paintings, not only do I want to show you the wet results, so you can take a look at what it looks like when it's pretty much done, most of it's moving on the canvas, but I think it's also really important to show the dried results, because as we know, things can change as it's drying. And sometimes they do. Sometimes it doesn't look nearly the way it did when it was wet. However, what I'm going to do, I mentioned last night, is I am going to reshape this negative space. It's way too small for me. I'm going to go in and just, trim up around here, just open it up a little bit more. Maybe dot some of these cells, I guess if you want to call them, around that so it sort of pops in this area. Now what's cool about all this is copper. It's a metallic copper. You can see some of the shine from it. And I know if I resin this or varnish it with either a high gloss varnish or just a regular resin, then pretty much it's going to be popping off the page. So when I was looking at it last night, I liked, whoops, my space is small. I liked possibly hanging it in this direction. That's sort of the way I was looking at it. And so I'm hoping we can do that. So let me show you over here. I don't think I've showed you, but this is one of my resined pieces. I really, I'm new at resining. There's a lot to get with it. You have to watch out for hair and dust. If you know what to look for, you could probably find it. You could find some of the imperfections in this painting, in this resining, but I think it looks really sharp and it really stands off the page. Now I want to do this one in resin, and I have these over here as well. Now this one, I resined my very first piece. It turned out really well. It's like it's under glass. It really stands out. And then I have this piece here. Let me stand back, which I think will look really good because of all the blues and the white. And then this one over here with all the different colors of the red, blues, greens, and purples. So I haven't done those yet, but those are my next projects. Okay, so let's get this one wrapped up and I will show you the dried results. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back once this completely dries, a little bit wet in that area, possibly in a day or two when I have the time. I will do a little bit of an intro and a time lapse to show you how I trim up and open up the negative space. Okay guys, we'll see you soon. Okay guys, here I am back with the official dried results. Everything's nice and clean and dry. And so I'm gonna go in just a moment here. I will show you sort of a time-lapse process. I mentioned this previously. I'm gonna clean up, extend the negative space up through here. I'm gonna take out some of these cells and round them, and maybe take some out through here. I'm not real sure. So that way I have just sort of more of like a, symmetrical little shape there. Now again, this looks kind of orange, maybe a little brown, but it is bright copper. So it will dry, it will shine up really well once I varnish or once I use some resin. So I'm going to get prepped here, get started, and yeah, hold on, you'll see the finished results. Hey guys, I just wanted to show you a little bit of how and why I trim back some of the negative space, especially in this painting. There wasn't a whole lot of negative space to begin with, and I like to have a little bit for your eyes to focus on one particular area. So what I mentioned earlier, I was going to take some cells out, and as you can see in the lower left corner there, I'm slowly starting to trim some back, putting some shape to them. Actually, I was having some brush issues. I bought some new brushes, but they weren't working as I had planned. Yeah, so I was using one of my old brushes. I just want to kind of define the area so I could see what I was working with. So that's why I blacked that area out. So as you can see, I'm just going in. I'm sort of using the black paint on my brush. And people always ask me how I use the black paint. It's right out of the bottle, so I don't add anything to it. And so I'm just sort of taking out some of the bigger pieces there, and I want to sort of give some rounded edges to some of the other cells that are up against the negative space. So I take my thin brush, and again sort of outline the areas that I want to exclude. And as you can see, sort of create a cell right there. Now trust me, I am not like an artist using a brush and don't have that kind of skill. It took me years to have the confidence to pick up a brush and go in and correct some of the mistakes that I see in the negative space. It was difficult at first because I didn't think I had a steady hand, but I'm pretty comfortable and confident with what I do at this point, and you can be too. Okay, so we're almost done here with this video segment, but I'm going to show you how I just sort of take some of the area out to make it black so it looks more defined. And yeah, so I'm not going to show you the entire finishing of this project with the painting here, as this segment's going to end in just a moment. And then I will show you the dried results and just take a look at the areas where my hands are and see how clean it looks when we're done. Again, making another cell and just painting out the area around it so it makes it kind of freestanding. Okay, dried results in a moment. Okay, friends, here you go. I am done. If you noticed, I just sort of cleaned up the negative space, sort of shaped a few pearls. I really didn't do much else, just kind of took the black off the edge. I was going to go in and dot some of these cells around the negative space, but they stand out well enough. So here we have it. I'm all done. Hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned. There's going to be some more coming up.